Yes, me too. I disagree, sir. I support it. You're not playing on the show. You're a big guy. See? 7 o'clock, and I call this meeting of the Pinconning Area School Board to order. Please repeat with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Anderson.
Present.
Badiford.
Present.
Doobie.
Present.
Somerville.
Present.
Reddish present. Kuchar.
Present.
7 present.
Thank you. That's a
Or 6 present, sorry. 6.
First on the one. So welcome back, Tom. Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. We have a full house tonight. We have 2 superintendents even, so. You're the last time. We're a little bit longer anyway, right? So again, thanks for everybody for coming. Any additions, deletions, changes to the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, in the consent agenda, we have item M, the employment of Jamie Morris as the GSRP paraprofessional. And item N, to approve the employment of Frankie Nokowski as middle school, high school social studies teacher.
Do you have any other additions, deletions, changes to the agenda? Seeing none, need a motion?
Will we accept the consent, or, we approve the
We have a motion to support. Support. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Community comments on agenda items. Anybody like to address the board? Anybody like to address the board? All right. Again, thanks for coming. The library dedication.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Tonight I have the pleasure of honoring a woman that was a big part of our district, and that lady is Jackie Hornachek. And I want to just say a few words about her, if I can keep the emotions out of it, because Jackie was a very big part of the district, and personally a very good woman that was very good to me and in the district. So I'll start out by saying, what was the biggest thing, the smile or the hug? I mean, that was the thing when you talk to Jackie, was it the smile or a hug? Because she was just bright, and she would come out, and she would come into the district and work with us, and just have that very good vibe, and wanted to help out. She helped our community for many years. She was an EMT, she had a love for flowers. And then in the district, many of you probably don't know, but she was a cheerleading coach here for a number of years, and really had a passion for that. And it showed. I know the girls that worked with her really enjoyed being around her, and she brought so much joy to them. She also, the reason we're going to give her a dedication in the library is she would come in and work with books, recover books. She would put laminate on them, and she would basically be here almost every week working with Sharon Millen in our library media center. So that's when I got to see her on a frequent basis, and it was very, very touching that she would take that much of her time to give back to the community. So I don't know if Sharon wants to say a word or not, but Sharon.
Yeah, I had a hard time saying. But I want to say, with the novel books, and what the kids do, she had a lot. She would come over here, drop the box off outside the door,
Yes.
set the door open, she would come in. She would pick him up, take him home, and then Mr. Floyd would bring him back in again, and then we drop him off from that, bring him back. All done anymore, every time, it's just no problem. Between her and Mary Ellie, and everything in the library, everybody do with them.
Thank you, Sharon. So on behalf of Pinconning Area Schools, I'd like to present Amy Wozniak with the plaque. And we just know that this will be hanging probably up in, right over there. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for helping us out our mom at high school here. She spent many years, many times here, like Mike said. It was just nice to see her remembered for all time, so I want this kid to come up, everybody can see her. She wasn't one for public fuss or attention, but this just means a lot to us, the family, so we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to take pictures with her camera. There you go. Good job.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Board of Trustee candidate interviews. So what we'll do is we'll interview the candidates one at a time. We will start with Mr. Yaros. He's on the top of our list. So if Amy and Paul, if you wouldn't mind stepping outside, so you don't have the advantage of hearing the questions, we'd appreciate it.
I'll find it hallway, correct?
Yeah.
And then Gary, we'll get you at this table over here
You get the hot seat.
if you want, or. So the board got your application in the packet and we're able to review that. And then we'll go through several questions here and get your answers.
Ready?
Yep, Linda, go ahead.
Okay. Hey there, so, what do you feel is the role of a school board member?
Well, school board member, first off, sports administration. So our goal, our job is to set the policies that are best for our students, and then give the administration the tools they need to implement those goals. In a nutshell.
Gary, what contributions can you make to the school district?
Well, I've been a business owner for 30 years, and I recently sold my business. I was on the board for 7 years, I believe it was, in the late 2000s. We passed the bond issue. I understand now it's been 15 years, so that's been paid off. So that's a big accomplishment. I'd like to thank the board for honoring those promises we made back in those days. That bond would be paid in 15 years, and the buildings would still be in good condition. Very proud of that. The building's still up. Excellent. But there's more work to do yet. I think the district has room to give our students more opportunities. And, well, I got off track. Oh, back on my, okay, so I got off the board when my daughter was born. And my business was really growing, so I didn't have the time I needed to spend with the school board. So I've been off. Recently, I sold the business. My daughter's now 13 years old. So I saw the opening and I said, man, maybe I can still give a little bit back to the school. So that's where I put my name in. So I've got a background in budget, planning, setting goals for people. With my experience on the board, I know Neola inside and out. I helped write the book that you folks are still using today. We adopted Neola in those years. And Mike would meet with us every night for a whole year, and we went through page by page on that book.
Great, thank you. Because of the issues we deal with, confidentiality is a requirement. So how would you safeguard the confidential business of the district?
You do not share anything that happens in a confidential meeting with anyone, including your wife or friends. It's just that simple. You just don't share it.
Thank you.
Students need so many skills nowadays to be successful after graduation. What are a couple that you think are most important?
Well, you know, the district's pretty well set up with the metal shop and wood shop, which back when the bond was passed, most districts were closing their metal shops and wood shop. The district reinvested into that. And I think that building has given our students a leg up, ones that aren't going to college, learning some trades. And then they're going on to the ISD from there, further ahead from their other districts. I know some ISD teachers, and they say the wood shop students going out in Pinconning are ahead of the Standish Bay City folks, because they don't have that intro in middle school that we can give them. Do you want me to elaborate more than that, Chris?
That's enough.
Okay.
Gary, what are your beliefs about the use of technology in education?
It's here for to stay, and we need to be teaching it still at kindergarten as we are. I think the challenge now, though, with technology is that with the Facebook and the different chat programs out there, we need to set rules so we can monitor those spaces. And those are changing so fast, the district's got to be aware of what our students are getting into before they, we have to be alert of what's coming in technology, so we can get the policies in place for our administrators that have the tools to deal with those new technology concerns.
Yeah. Sorry, Gary, I gotta write something here. What do you know about the current contracts, like teachers, administrators, or support staff?
I'm not familiar with your current contract. I know what they were 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I know the best contract is drafted with the union, and the administration, and the board sitting at a table, laying it all out, and trying to give them the best we can. They are key to our students' success, so we need to take care of our teachers within the budget we have. So if we're open with the teachers, with our budget, I think they've always been responsive in the past. They bailed us out of some tough times in the early 2000s. Hats off to them for that.
Okay, and then are you familiar with the board policies?
It's about this thing. It takes a year to go through it.
If cuts in programs for kids became necessary for financial reasons, what would you cut, and how would you go about making those decisions?
Well, what we've done in the past is you try to impact students the least. So first off, you look at your budget, and you look for any discretionary spending that maybe has been added over the years that we can attack first. The overall goal of the budget cuts is trying to impact students the least. That's our goal here, is that's our business, is providing a good student at the end. So you need to take care of your teachers, you need to give them the resources we have available for the library, for example, technology. Everything else beyond that needs to be reviewed to see where we can trim the budget. Now, hopefully the state's not talking about that again. I haven't heard that they are. So we're already pretty lean.
It's been improving slightly, but not where it needs to be. But
Well, when I started, it was 14 administrators. I think right now you've probably got,
That part's changing.
so those folks are doing double duty. Those administrators have really added a lot onto their plate over the last 10 years on the cuts.
how do you handle criticism?
Yeah, I get it all the time.
We're talking outside the home.
I like to talk, so if someone comes up to me and tells me how wrong I am, I try and convince them that I'm not wrong. And if that's how I got the bond passed, talking to folks that were concerned about the amount of money we're asking them to give, we had to earn their trust, and just really need to listen to people, listen to them criticize you, have an open mind that maybe you are looking at things wrong. Take that into account as you make the decision moving forward.
Thank you.
At times, you're gonna be caught between opposing points of view. How do you keep your point of view out of decisions that have to be made, maybe following the law or policy? Or how did you in the past? Even?
Yeah, well, you can't separate, I can't separate myself from myself, so. But you need to keep an open mind of, this is what this board is about. When we talk about a policy, I need to have an open mind to listen to Paul's point of view and consider maybe mine needs to be adjusted slightly. And I have to remember I'm representing the district and our students. So, again, we're student first, so whatever my point of view, if it isn't a benefit to the student, I need to reevaluate that, because it has to be, we need to be student-centered.
Why are you interested in running for the board seat?
Got some free time on my hands, and I'm used to working a lot now. And I saw there was an opening, and I thought maybe I still had something to offer to the students in county.
Okay.
That
Well, Gary, I'm gonna skip number 12, this is how you attended board meetings in the past, so. What is your view of the district's responsibility for development of staff?
yeah, what we're already doing.
In addition to or
Yeah,
expanded.
so, obviously, technology, as technology develops, we need to keep staff up to speed on what they're seeing in the classroom from their students. The students could be ahead of our teachers in technology. So I think that probably is the challenge coming forward in the next 10 years, that we stay ahead of our students.
Do you have any questions for us, though?
No,
Any other requests? Anyone have any other questions they'd like to add? All right, thank you for your time. We'll review the other two, and we will make a decision towards the end of the meeting. If you would, please. Then you can send Amy back in. Yeah. You didn't see a question where they've already answered, obviously, so let's get that.
Yeah, I think that's another one of that one. Applies, right?
Yeah.
Because the other ones I don't know, I don't hear that.
Amy, come on down and have a seat.
Come on,
Get a little practice sitting at the board here.
I don't want to sit in that seat.
So we'll have, the whole board ask you some questions. You'll have an opportunity to ask us questions at the end too. And then we are going to make a decision, so you have towards the end of the meeting. So,
All right. Okay, Amy, in your opinion, what is the role of a school board member?
I think the role of school board member is to form policies, procedures, to make the district better. It's to govern the district as a whole, and not be involved in day-to-day operations, but to give the resources to day-to-day administration to have. And work with one another as a team, be able to take constructive criticism and grow from that.
What contributions can you make to the school district?
Lots. I have a very strong understanding of fiscal responsibilities. I've done budgets. I'm responsible for the city audit. I know cash flow, revenue, expenditures, all that good stuff. Gas fee regulations. I work with state and local officials almost every day. Have a lot of resources that they come in handy in almost every aspect that I've worked in and volunteered for. So I can account for that. I'm experienced in writing grants. I've gotten several grants through the city. I've managed long-term grants. Worked with engineers on grant projects. And working for the city in the position of government, I know how the board runs, the inner workings of it. You guys are somewhat like our council. There's similarities there. So I'm familiar with the Open Meetings Act, Robert's Rules, minutes, agendas. I think that's it.
And you don't see any problem between running the city and being on the council here?
Well, I don't run the city, I just manage the finance.
You do that? Okay.
The only time I think there would be a conflict if there was some sort of lease contract or contract between them, and then as a board member, I would just stay from that role.
Because the issues we deal with, confidentiality is a requirement. How do you safeguard the confidential business of the district?
When people ask questions, and there is some confidentiality in that, you find a way to utilize what knowledge you have that isn't confidential. And then whatever resources you present them to that can produce a better answer or a better suggestion to what they're looking for. You just don't say what you're not supposed to.
When students graduate, they have to have many skills in order to be successful. What do you think are a couple of the most important?
Real life skills. I think that's really important. I know when I graduated, those resources were there to give me a direction. And I went to college, but I really didn't have a lot of real life skills. And so I think that's really important. I think they need to know that if it's going to be a struggle, that things aren't just handed to you. You have to have a goal and you have to work hard to achieve that goal.
What are your beliefs on the use of technology in the school, in education?
I think it can be very, very, very beneficial. However, I do, to be completely honest, see cell phones as an issue nowadays. I see it with my own child, and I see it with other parents, other teachers. I don't think I've ever heard one teacher say that they welcome cell phones in the classroom. So I don't think that's a good match. But like the Chromebooks and the iPads, I think those can be beneficial because when the child goes out to community, that's the community technology.
Amy, can you tell me, do you know anything about our current contract with teachers, administrations, support staff?
I cannot, but I can tell you that I'm pretty fluent in contractual agreements, both union and non-union.
Okay, are you familiar with board policies?
As in what's expected of me, or?
Board policy kind of governs the school, or I guess how we have to run things here.
So I'm familiar with the way the board works, how it votes on different policies, the committees that are formed, and then decisions that are taken from the committees to the board. But specific policies, I don't know, I guess I have to be asked.
If cuts in programs for kids became necessary for financial reasons, what would you cut and how would you go about making those decisions?
Well, you kind of would probably need versus want, obviously. And then, you know, you cut to your needs and then you prioritize your needs. And outsource maybe a little. Find, you know, a lot of times there's a lot of resources that can be obtained from society and brought in, either free of charge, reduced charge, you know. There's a lot of help, a lot of people willing to help.
How do you handle criticism?
Very well.
Imagine someone in the position you're in.
Don't take anything too serious, but it's serious enough.
How do you keep your personal view out of issues that may have to follow the law or policies?
It's a hard question, but I do it. In my position with the city, I have to do what's in the best interest financially for the city. Sometimes I don't agree with those decisions, but that's not my job, to agree or disagree. My job is to do what's in the best interest of the city.
Why are you interested in running for this board seat?
I like to be active in the community, I like to be involved, and I like to make a difference. And if I can use anything, any of my knowledge or skills and bring it to this district and benefit it in any way, I'm excited to do that.
Have you attended board meetings in the past?
Yes.
Okay, and what is your view of the district's responsibility for development of staff?
For development of staff, district's responsibility, I would say to lead the staff in a direction. Pay for some training, not all. Again, a lot of training you can get at free level. But I do think it is the district's responsibility to give those resources for education, for skills, knowledge.
Anybody have any other questions? Do you have any questions for us at all?
I don't think I do. I will want to sit down.
All right. Yep, thank you for your time. I ask you to step out again while we interview the last candidate. And then we'll let you know when we're done and you can come back in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the hot seat.
All right. Hello, sir, how are you? Good, how are you? Good. Yes. Thank you for your application. The board members had a chance to look at it, review it, and we have some questions we're going to ask you, and then we will decide today and we'd like to put on the board.
Sure.
It's interesting.
Paul, what is the role, in your opinion, of the school board member?
Oh, wow. The school board, it seems to be as involved as you want it to be, but it can deal with finances. It can deal with extracurriculars outside. There's curriculum involved, so that's a big part of our students and what they learn here. There's finance involved, there's projects to be looked at and approved. The school board, it seems like everything runs to the school board, filters through the school board. And I'd like to be part of it, and I think I can help out.
That means we're moving to the next one.
Yeah, what contributions can you make to the school district?
Sure. I'm familiar with the meeting processes. I've been on finance councils, school council over at St. Michael's, AYSO, been involved with that. So I'm familiar with the processes. So that's pretty simple there. I run a business out of Saginaw. I'm familiar with sprinkler systems, alarm systems, security systems. I've done projects of multi-million dollars. I was in the U.S. Navy, so I was there for quite a few years. We learned a lot of things about staying in school or not. But also we came with a lot of different topics, I guess, or different skill sets. I just got back from Cleveland. I was in an active shooter training just this week. I was in active shooter training. So I think I have a lot between years, I guess, and I could share it quite a bit. Septic systems, sewer systems, phone lines. I can do a lot of that stuff. I work with builders mostly, so I know a lot about roofing, building, maintenance. Like I said, I'm on finance councils. Yeah, pretty well rounded.
Because of the issue we deal with, confidentiality is a requirement, so how do you safeguard the information that we discuss in closed sessions or with the attorney?
Yeah, this happens a lot too, especially with HR issues. So I have 37 employees that I work with. We have a lot of HR issues that come around and about. And it seems like if something comes between you and me, then it stays between you and me. And that's usually something that we can talk about. Okay? So if we have a conversation and it's between you and I feel the need to talk about it, because we will. Everybody does feel the need to talk about it. You just talk about it between you and I. So even if there's an HR issue with the two people and they have an issue, they can talk about it amongst themselves as a team. Because to say that you're never going to talk about anything, I think that would be pretty false. Everybody's going to talk about it. It's human nature. It's what we do. So I just ask people that we talk about it in a group setting. So if we talk about something in a group setting that's not to be spread outside, that's where it stays.
Thank you.
Students need many skills when they graduate. What are a couple of the ones that you feel are most important? 2, 3.
Number one would be communication. And how to use that communication. So we struggle a lot with text messages, emails, phone calls, face-to-face. That is a huge problem that I see with the younger generations. What deserves a text message and what deserves a face-to-face or a phone call? I think communication is a huge skill set that we all need to work on. That reply all button is really difficult for a lot of people. So I think communication would be huge for a lot of them. Kind of more specifically, academically, I think we can focus on what that person, that individual student is good at and focus on that. Maybe from a counselor's perspective, we need to focus on that child that has better trade skill sets, or maybe more mathematical or English, whatever that may be. And then we can direct them better into the engineering field, or maybe into the military, or maybe into a trade school. But I think we need to establish what they're good at, and then just expand on that and really make that mind grow. What are your beliefs about the use of technology in education?
Well, we can't hide from it. It's not going anywhere. It's only getting bigger and stronger. COVID showed us a lot of what technology can do, what we can do with technology. And we don't need to shy away from it. We just got to know that there's a place for it. So, in trade school, maybe it wouldn't be as important, but maybe as an engineer, it's that much more important. And again, kind of going back to what communication and learning about kids and what they're good at, kind of getting back to that, like, there's a time and place for technology. I just got back from dropping my daughter off at Adrian College, and the president was up at the front on the stage, and he said, we're about 1/3 done making all of the classrooms live video all the time. Not that we want to go to live video all the time, not that we want to go to that. But if your child has to be out of school for a sporting event or maybe an illness or something that prevents them from going to class, they have access to it. And that's a beautiful thing. So as much as we don't always love technology and sometimes we rely too heavily on technology, it makes our lives easier and there's a good place for it. We just got to know when to use it, when not to.
This is probably a pretty quick question. What do you know about our current contracts with our teachers, staff, administrators?
Almost nothing. I read the previous notes from past agendas, and I see what you work on and what you approve and some of the negotiating. I don't really know any specific numbers on it. I just know that you are involved in it, and yeah, that's about it.
Okay, and are you familiar with board policies?
I just read over them, and it didn't look like anything out of the ordinary from what I was used to.
If custom programs for kids became necessary for financial reasons, what would you cut and how would you go about making those decisions?
What would I cut?
In that, I would go back to the numbers. What is the attendance of this? What's on the agenda to be cut, I guess, and then look at the numbers. And then instead of, I find with numbers, people that are numbers guys, they look at the numbers, they live or die by numbers. And I don't believe that to be right, because I can use those numbers to manipulate what I want, right? I can give you a percentage and make it sound great, or I can give you the actual number and make it sound worse. So people live and die by numbers. And I wouldn't do that. I would look at the numbers and say, okay, maybe there's only 5 people attending this, but that child is also involved in 3 other things that they could go to. So now we're down to 2. And if we could get that 2 moved into something else, then maybe we can cut that program. But first, I would definitely look at the numbers to get it narrowed down, and then really look at it to see what is that child involved in, and who can we put them with, where can we put them? Because nobody wants to lose, right? And when we lose programs, we're losing. I would like to see it replaced with something, all right? Or the intention is to remove this and add this, which maybe would be a better financial option for us.
So how would you handle criticism? Because we get a lot of it up here.
Yeah, so do I. Criticism is one of those things that you talk to your wife. You know, back to the non-confidential or whatever it is, if most of them are not. A lot of public comments now, a lot of criticism now. Everybody handles stress and stuff their own way. I really don't have a problem with criticism. I'm one of those guys that doesn't yell, I don't scream. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, even though I don't agree with it. They're entitled to their opinion. And hopefully, if I really don't agree with it, I'm hoping I can change their opinion. And not through words, but through actions, because I would much rather show people what we can do than I just tell them.
How do you handle an opposing point of view? Let's say your personal view is leaning one way, but policy tells you gotta go another way. How would you handle something like that?
Sure. That happens a lot. I don't like to hide behind company policy. Policies and procedures are there to protect the company or protect an institution or whatever it may be, that's what they're there for. I would hope that we don't have any policies that would go any differently than my moral values, but I don't see that happening. If there was such a case, I don't like to make rash decisions. One time I bought a set of pots and pans, and they were really, really expensive. And I said, I'll never, ever do that again. And so I like to kind of take a step back, think about it overnight, and go back to it. And at that point, I think I could really rationalize what's going on, and then maybe I would grow to understand policies that are why it's different than what I had.
Where are you interested in running for the board?
Feel like I can help out. The more I get involved, the more I like. Just got on the Booster Club about a year and a half ago. Really having fun with it. Thinking of some new ideas and some things that we can bring back. Got involved with AYSO, really enjoy that. Same thing with the Church Finance Council, got involved with that. Kind of like, and I think I bring quite a bit of talent that I don't.
Have you attended board meetings in the past?
No, not this school board meeting. I looked at I was looking at the agendas, I was looking at past notes, and I seen there was vacancy. And we need more good people. And I believe I am. So I said, well, I don't know who's applying or who's not applying. And so I said, I'll put my name out there. This was the first school board meeting I attended. And I'm okay with that. It doesn't matter to me. And like you said, I'm totally open to criticism. That's fine. No big deal.
Okay, and what is your view of the district's responsibility for development of staff?
The district's responsibility for the development of staff. I think that that's a big question. So the district their responsibility is to support the state. I guess it depends on what you're looking at, like continued education maybe for teachers or certain licensing. I think the district's responsibility would be to know what is needed and when it's needed. So you gotta know when somebody is out of compliance and then how to get them back into compliance. Whether it's continued education or health forms or whatever that may be, as a district, we need to be held accountable for what the students are doing, or else that would be big trouble for us and not helping out like we're supposed to do.
Great, thank you. Any other questions from the board? Do you have any questions for us at all?
Really kind of learning. I know I have a lot of experiences fast, but I'm really just kind of learning, so I don't really know what to ask. Like I said, I read the past agendas, read the past notes. It looks pretty straightforward. And some things, like as I walk around, I ask questions and people don't know the answers. And so that's when I really wanted to kind of get involved. That's why I wanted to come to the meeting. That's when I seen the vacancy, because I was walking around, I was like, oh, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Well, come to the school board and find out. So that's what I'm doing.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
If you want to bring together, let them know you can come back in. Paul, you're welcome to stay.
All right.
Again, we will be tackling this or debating it, discussing it, making motions for nominations for the position towards the end of the meeting. So everybody's welcome to stay around for that. I was wondering if we had public comments before the appointment that we don't. All right, consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda and pay the bills totaling $487,906.79.
Motion support, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Bedifer,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Dubé,
Yes.
Palmville,
Yes.
Ravish, yes, Kuchar,
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you. Communication, superintendent's view and wall check.
Thank you, Mr. Kuchar. I'll start out and I'll hand it over to Mr. Kowalczyk. District staffing update. Getting to the end of the summer and we still have some positions to fill. And Catherine can correct me if I'm wrong, but we're still looking for a bus driver and 3 custodians right now. We have a couple new aides and we have 2 cook positions. And right now a team interviewed for the assistant principal, athletic director, and right now Mr. Kowalczyk's waiting to hear back on one of the candidates. That be accurate? Okay. Any other staffing updates that we have, Catherine, that you know or no? Okay, everyone's favorite topic, COVID protocols. Health Department sent out some new guidelines Friday. And we're looking those over right now as I'm looking them over as the ISD and as the Pinconning superintendent. And there's not a lot of change from last spring, but then again, there are a lot more recommendations and mandates. One of the things that they're talking about is that obviously if you have COVID, that you're going to be required to isolate for a minimum of 5 days with a possible return at day 6. And then you'd have to wear a mask until the 10 days is up. We're looking at, a lot of recommendations. One of the things that they talk about is if we do tests, we would be able to test here, or we would be able to provide families with tests. Right now, we still have what we call a health resource officer. So once we decide, and once Thursday we meet with the Bay County Health Department, Mr. Kowalczyk will be kind of meeting with the administrators here to see exactly what that looks like as far as testing. But we do have someone that could test on site, and the recommendations are we could also give tests so people could do it at home. Not anything you think, Anna?
Just that they're asking us to contact health department when we see the positive cases, so they're still trying to keep track of it. That's one of the things they're asking of us.
Yeah, it's one of the few mandates is that we have to notify them. And we'll get some information out to parents. There's a screener here on symptoms and what that would look like for parents and for students. And we're going to kind of, again, tweak what the health department has. But for the most part, one of the things they talk about is kind of moving from the pandemic into more of a different way to treat the way that they're going back through this. And I can't quite find it on here, but it's basically we're taking it from a pandemic to an endemic and trying to kind of treat it more like a cold or more of an illness rather than how they've approached it before, but yet still be cautionary that it doesn't come back like we had last fall.
And we will not be contact tracing.
Right.
That's a big one that
No
someone
bad.
has, that we're not making people stay home. We check their symptoms and test them if needed, but no one will be staying home because they were by someone.
Even household members.
Kind of along that line, I haven't seen it myself, but have you guys heard of anything coming down with the monkeypox virus, all that stuff? Yeah, I haven't seen anything to where there's no concern about it yet, so I just didn't know if you had. So, all right.
Facility update. We had a section of the new stands under the football stands. Cement was cracked, and the company came out and chipped it out and redid it, and it looked great last week for our football scrimmage. They had it done in time, so we thank them for that, fixing that area. We also had an issue with the football field. The watering system was broken. The pipes are broken. So if anyone is at the game this Thursday, they might see some brown patches and wonder what's going on. And that's being looked at, and we're trying to get that fixed as soon as possible. In the meantime, they're putting up the tripods, and sprinkling the field that way. But by the time we found out that it wasn't working, there were some brown patches that had come up. Lights are still being installed throughout the district, as we talked about at the last meeting. And the sprinkling system, we're still on hold for that. Hopefully it's within the next couple weeks of our soccer stadium. We would like to have a site committee meeting. I'll be contacting those members, hopefully next week, so we can talk about the soccer field. I've invited the coach to come and talk to us, so we can get some things going and plan, because if you noticed when you came through, you see a lot of weeds and stuff in there already, so we don't want to let it get away from us, you know, to be able to do the hydro seeding and have that nice grass seeds coming. So we'd like to talk about that and some other things coming up next week. I'll be contacting you with that. With softball too, we're looking at some cement being installed to update that area too, so I'll be contacting you. And the next thing that I wanted to bring up, I know this is something that the board has looked into before, but it's the Esports Program. And I just wanted to kind of give my input into that as being an administrator who was involved with that and seeing the impact that it brought to a group of students that really didn't have a place in some other schools. I know there's been coaches and athletic directors that have had that little, ooh, you don't have enough guys on the football team or soccer field, let alone having an esports team where they're at home playing video games. And I've been involved with the committee throughout the state that has been talking to coaches, to schools, and seeing the amazing things that it's doing for a different group of kids. I have not seen it affect sports. I have seen dual athletes. I guess we've had some students that have played sports, and then they will also do the esports if it works out for them, because certain games are on certain nights. But I just wanted to bring that up because the deadline is coming up soon to start a team and to have those students. And you can have as many as you want. There are some schools that have 3 kids that the first season you just kind of see how it goes. Others have 5, 10 teams where there's 50 kids involved. It's really cool to see the students wear their esports jersey or shirt, you know, kind of like the other students get to wear theirs during school. And I'm willing to talk to you if someone would like to talk to me outside of the meeting, or give me a call just to see if there's some things we can do, because I really like seeing what it can give to some of our students that kind of don't have that connection of Pinconning with them.
Thank you. Any questions for either of you gentlemen? Thank you. Reports from other administrative staff?
Also, we had our orientation last week with our middle school and high school. That went over very well. We had our opening days, obviously, with our teaching staff tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday. Kids start at 29. And I just wanted to kind of make a note that with the 3 candidates that were today, they all are amazing candidates. Just listen to them, kind of answer the questions. It's really nice to see 3 people apply for that. And then with our community support, we've had a lot more people come to our board meetings. And I think that's because of the culture that we've kind of started to create a little bit more of with just people from the community feeling comfortable. So that's been something that I've noticed, and it's very enlightening to see that. So keep coming.
You can introduce Frank.
Yes, is our new social studies teacher who's going to be teaching so a little bit of 6th grade and our mostly 7th grade social studies classes. Probably she was a student here. What year did you graduate?
I graduated in the year 2009, homegrown, started my educational career at Garfield Elementary, and from there transferred to Mount Morris, where I eventually made my way here. So I'm very happy to be back and extremely grateful. Also very happy to see lots of faces and community support. So can't wait to have you home.
Great, welcome back. Glad to have you as part of the staff.
And just another note, we've had met a lot of positions that were open through the summer. All those positions are filled. just waiting on that assistant principal position, but, a lot of young teachers, a lot of fresh new faces, and it's very exciting to, see that, and we're excited for the upcoming year.
Thank you. Other administrators?
I'd just like to take a minute to congratulate Jay Bosworth on the emergency connectivity funds that he received through the district. This is his third grant that he received through this. And this one is letting us purchase 700 new Chromebooks. So,
Great.
thank you.
Take a bow, take a bow. Thank you. Other administrators?
We had a new teacher orientation this past week, welcoming our new teachers into the district, and they've been acclimated with their mentors, and it's nice to see some new smiling, eager faces here, so we're excited to get them started. Tomorrow was our first day of professional development, so it'll be nice to see everyone back in the district, getting ready to go for the year.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else?
We are eagerly awaiting the light covers, which will need to be here before school starts. But we're pretty much all set to go and we're closed.
Thank you.
We're running again, Linwood.
All right.
What's done ahead? Excitement starting always, looking forward to students coming up on Monday, and we'll see most of them tomorrow night at our meet for Thursday. Looking forward to it.
Excellent, thank you.
Board members are welcome to come help on the boxes and inventory.
Who's a catch? Who's a catch? Thanks again, Jimmy. Thanks again to the administrators. Board committees? We had any meeting, did we? Okay. All right, on to the non-consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the final reading of the middle school, high school handbook for 2022-2023 school year.
Support. We have a motion and support. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
On page 68, it talks about detention. No headphones, assigned seats, no talking, no sleeping, no food. Nothing's mentioned about phones. Can they still sit on their phones and play during detention? It's not mentioned in here that they can't.
No, they cannot. You know, with when it comes to policies and with handbooks, and it's hard to encompass every scenario with you know, those types of things. And as technology grows, it's so yeah, we don't really have. We can put that in there for sure, but yeah, and you're going to see a lot of little things that are going to be in the handbook. That's not going to encompass every situation, but we have language in there that dictates administrator discretion and those kind of things.
Yeah, but if we get a parent that comes to us, a board member, and says, it does not say no phones in here, what do we have to do? We have to follow this.
Yep, and yep.
So we need to add that. I would say add that to part D, would be my guess. There's no headphones, so I would add it just to maybe D4. Or you
Instead of
can,
et cetera, just say cell phones as well, then et cetera.
And I can put it at the bottom of that too, just
either way, but it definitely needs to be in there.
yeah, because there's going to be a million things that they could bring in that doesn't say specifically.
Unfortunately, we all know if it's not in here, we cannot enforce it.
No, I understand.
And that policy and procedure, that's how we have to do that.
Right. And I'll put a note in there again that says, you know, administrative discretion on items.
I'll have you amend your motion here in a second, but is there anybody have anything else? Because I have one, two, not quite as significant as that. I don't know what page number it is, but it's under the grade updates. And in the green part, so it's gotta be near page like 15. Is what I'd be looking at. It says, interim progress reports will be, and what's in green says available via Skyward. If parents want a paper copy, they can submit a request to the lead secretary and one be sent home. we need to have the word will be sent home in there.
Okay.
So it's small, but I think we need to have the appropriate English language. So, Tom, you made the motion. Are you okay with those changes?
I'm okay with the amendments to that motion.
And supported. All right, any further discussion? All right, roll call vote, please.
Vederford?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Doobie?
Yes.
Hummelville?
Yes.
Ravish, yes. Kuchar?
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you, motion carries. Next item is the Board of Trustee appointment. I would like to say before we discuss this, is thanks to all three candidates. I'd like to have all three of you on the board. Highly qualified, we could use your expertise and your passion on this board, especially with all the stuff we went through with COVID for the last couple of years. So thank you for applying, and just, if you don't get it tonight, keep it in mind in the future. I think any of you would make a great addition to the board, so thank you so much. With that, I'll open up to discussions or motions.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we appoint Gary Yaros to the vacancy on the board.
We have a motion and support, and discussion on that. Roll call vote, please.
Vederford?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Doobie?
Yes.
Hummelville?
Yes.
Ravish, yes. Kuchar?
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I don't want to take away from anybody. It was really good.
He's got the experience.
So we swear him in now then, or
You can do that, you can do it after the meeting.
right after the meeting?
Yeah.
After adjournment or before?
After.
Okay. So again, I'd like to thank you for coming in, and Gary, if you'll hang around, we'll get you sworn in so you're all set for the next meeting. Public comments, anybody like to address the board? And any of the items we've discussed or anything in the district at all? Yes.
It's more of a, I don't know, comment, Sarah. Like the meet and greets and, I guess the meet and greets and whatnot, they're always like at 1 to 3. And it's kind of an inconvenient time for parents that work. And I was just wondering for like future meet and greets, if, because I get it, because I'm a teacher too, and I know teachers don't want to stay past 30. But if maybe the times could be like a 2 to 5 to hit the parents that, work second shift and hit the parents that, because I can never make my kids' meet and greets. I'd like to meet the teachers, and that way grandma doesn't go and I say, how were the teachers? Fine. That's all I ever get, kind of thing. And just a suggestion, that way, maybe flex the teachers' hours out, they don't have to come in at, 7:30, a little later, and that kind of thing. You guys do that.
Used to do that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Yaros?
Thank you for your, it's a little more flattering this because of the other candidates. So I'm overwhelmed that you put faith in me on that. I know the other two people, and they're great people. So hopefully they'll be on the board with us.
Hopefully. Thank you.
Yes. Hi, my name's Erin Forth. I am mom of Logan 4 and Logan 4 in 6th grade. And it's not a negative thing. I can't say how much I love our school. I love our teachers. It's awesome. But I do have a concern, and I addressed it with Mr. Sanford. He called me right away. Logan's class size in 2nd grade was very high. It was like 27. But he called me right away, and he basically said, it's above him that I need to bring it to Mr. Polchak and possibly the board on my concerns. So when Logan was in kindergarten, of course, that's when COVID hit. He lost out on half of that learning. And then 1st grade, same thing. I'm not an educator, I'm a nurse, but I was able to luckily take some time off and stay home with him and try to help him through all of that. But he's still struggling. So 1st grade, he was borderline Title I. Second grade, when the class, I'm not sure how much he had first grade. Second grade, for sure, he just sunk. Title I, barely moved English reading, and there's 27 in there. I talked to his teacher. The teacher basically said a lot of the kids are struggling because of that missed out early learning. Just kind of hang in there, which we did. But with the noise, and he also felt like he couldn't like speak up and say that he needed additional help. He became anxious at school and would cry and have stomach aches, and would tell me that he couldn't ask for help because there was other kids that needed help too. And I understand that there's only 2 classes again this year, so I'm concerned about what that class size might look like. And then I also appreciate your email right back as well, saying that she'll look into it further. I understand nothing can be done like in a snap of the fingers, but I was just hoping that maybe you guys could help Central with how big our class sizes are and not around too. So, thank you.
Right, thank you. I will just make a quick comment on that we're aware of the numbers and we're monitoring them. And it's a matter of who shows up on the first day, and it's not ideal. But we do have kids that register that never show up, and we may add sometimes to watch, but we are monitoring it, and we'll do the best we can. But thank you for bringing that up. Anybody else?
I'll go ahead and piggyback off of Arlene's thing. My son's entering 7th grade, and I can tell you that their class size at kindergarten level was kind of like at the max. I want to say there were 32 kids in his classroom for kindergarten. In 7th grade, I'm still seeing the ramifications of that. So class size is huge. It's a big deal for kids, and we're still playing catch up at 7th grade. Yes, COVID, 4th grade is when he got taken out. I get that. But a lot of the kids I've noticed from his grade level have poor coping skills, a lot of attention problems, a lot of behavior issues. And if you look at class size, I think it all correlates. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Allen?
After I heard the facility update, this was brought to my attention the other night at the football. We put the new bleachers in. Looks awesome, looks fantastic. The handicap has to enter at the south end of the building where the stands where the ramp goes up. So they have to go underneath the bleachers. And then it was brought to the question, is there proper lighting? Because there's no lights under those bleachers, so people can't. So I don't know, has anyone looked at the field lit up at night?
Not when it was lit up at night, but we have talked to electricians and we're looking at lighting that underneath.
Okay. And then my second thing is, I was gonna ask the school board, Mr. Walczak, Mr. Woodruff, we're looking to start a fundraiser for the football program / boosters. And we're looking to put 4x8 billboards along the fence at the football games. A lot of schools have already done it and stuff. The money would go toward Coach Mulligan's football program because the last couple of years, the seniors haven't turned in uniforms. We don't even have enough uniforms. All the 5th quarter players that are coming up, we don't have matching uniforms for them and stuff. So we are looking to offset some of that by doing some advertising on the fences. And Mr. Dvorak's brother owns Linwood Graphics, and he's willing to give us a fantastic deal on signs. And then we would ask local businesses to pay a sponsorship or whatever to put the signs on the fields, and then that money would go to help with football equipment and stuff. Then in the spring, we could also then move them to baseball, softball fields, and then ask, the sponsors which field they would want to be on. And like myself, I would want to be on both. I would buy a second sign to put on boys and girls. So we're just asking the school board, Mr. Woodruff, Mr. Walczak, if that is something we can move forward with.
I think we'd have to take that to either site and or policy.
to report back, but, you said you want site to meet next week. So I'll put that on the agenda and then we'll see what they come up with and then put it to probably policy, look what we have there too.
Can you just get with Mr. Kowalczyk and draw out the football field, what you're thinking, where you're thinking about putting them when it comes to site? We can look at it and make a better judgment from the way that everything says.
Absolutely. Mr. Goodmorchak is actually spearheads most of it, so I'm just gonna help.
Just so we have an idea when we're looking at it.
Quick little diagram, so exactly the area we're talking about. So, that'd be fine. Then you can just get that to Mr. Kowalczyk. Anybody else? Okay, discussion items?
Well, I would like to thank Mr. View for, who would have thunk, I graduated with Mr. View. And we were on two separate spectrums growing up. And who would have thought that I would have been working with him on the school board these many years? And that Mr. Klunder and Mr. What was the government teacher's name? Burkhart. And Mr. Burkhart would have been looking at me saying, you're sitting on the school board. I just want to thank you, Mike. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Yes.
And I know it's gonna, if you pass half of what you know down to Andy, that'd be great for everybody else that's gonna be coming up after this.
I appreciate that.
The facilities look beautiful. We get so many compliments on this, on our facilities. We've come a long way, and it's because of you back there pushing.
I appreciate that. Again, I thank the board for all the support I've gotten over the last 25 years here, and we'll keep it at that. You know how I feel about the district, and I'm still going to be a part of it.
Anybody else?
I just got one question. Last week or so, all the buses were over here parked, and I think you forgot 3 or 4 of them over here.
Did we?
Yeah.
We're looking for drivers.
They'll be going.
Are they gonna be going back or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, one of the things, Andy, the facilities update, I told him just a little bit ago, so he wasn't aware of it, but the bus barn, they've got to wait on some of the gravel to settle over there.
Okay.
So they are gonna, I asked them if they're gonna be doing it in September, so all the buses should be back there, but they may temporarily have to come back for a little bit.
Okay. And if we're gonna be parking them over there now.
They did start.
Oh.
Well, I won't say that to Jeremy.
Any other discussion items? Again, I'd like to piggyback on Paul's comments. I've said it before, Mike, you've done a tremendous job. I think you're one of the top superintendents in the state. And you have a passion for the job, passion for education, and a passion for our community. And that's what I'm excited about Andy about, is he's part of this community and he's passionate about the community, passionate about our students, passionate about our staff. And I'm just, after having the last 2.5 years with COVID, this, for me being a teacher in another district and then just seeing the new staff coming in, it just seems so much lighter this year coming in without that COVID cloud hanging overhead and kind of the unknown. We've got some bright, young, talented, invigorated staff members coming in or in their 2nd or 3rd year here. And I'm excited for our students and our community to get kind of that jump start. I'm just really looking forward to this year. It's going to be a tough transition, going from you, Mike. I'm happy that we got you, Andy, and the sport works very well together. So here we go for another year. And I thank you all and all the staff members and definitely the community for coming out and supporting your candidates in this school and this community. Thank you so much. And Craig, you always do us justice, maybe a little bit too good, but keep doing it. So, anybody else? If not, I will take
Move to adjourn.
Support.
motion, support, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Mr. Yarrows, if you step forward, we will get the ceremony done. Nah. Jack needs that.